Hi, everybody. It's Chris Petri. Thanks for stopping by. Hey, you know what? I thought I'd change my format just a little bit. I've been doing this pretty much a very typical format for I don't know, about a year now, and I thought maybe I'm going to do a little more of interesting, let's say, comments with my regular YouTube subscribers. So many of you out there, thanks so much for sending your comments over the last year and a half or so since I've been doing my YouTube channel, and I appreciate that you get involved with our channel we have here. I consider it like a team um, forum or an open forum with all of us just kind of learning together as we're all artists. We're all trying to get better all the time and practice and talk about all the technical things about watercolor and what we need to learn to get better and improve constantly. So I thought my format might change a little bit. I'm having some really interesting subscribers send in photographs of their paintings, which are really looking great. And so I just thought I'd maybe change my format just a little bit. We'll see how it goes. I've never really been one for big into wanting to have a lot of subscribers on my channel and so forth. So I really don't. I didn't get into YouTube to get like popular or to get as many subscribers as I can. I'm just here to share my artwork with everyone, and we're kind of all here together as artists, watercolor artists, getting better at our skills and trying to improve upon our paintings, and that's really what it's about. That's what my channel's about. And so um, this week, Carrie Ann, one of our subscribers in our group, she sent in a beautiful painting she did of a vase of flowers, and turned out really beautiful. And I thought she did a great job. So let's talk about some of the really cool things that she's accomplished here in this painting. Which, if let me zoom in a little bit. Um, okay, so the one of the I think the first thing I noticed was beautiful clean colors. Like there's no muddiness to this painting. She's used all beautiful clean colors, which means she's probably taking a lot of time and effort to um, clean the palette occasionally as she's painting instead of just letting everything get mucked up. And so that right away I see is beautiful color here, like the oranges and reds for the flowers, and the beautiful shadow colors under the vase, and the purples and pinks and stuff on the tablecloth or table. I see a nice white table there. So the first thing is the really nice, beautiful, clean colors. Looks fantastic, and that's what we always try to do. Of course, with my style of painting, those of you who follow me for quite a long time, I'm always talking about how beautiful, clean colors on our watercolor paper just looks fantastic, and so this is a great example. Carrie Ann did that with this painting. And then I also noticed beautiful brushstrokes with carefree, loose brushstrokes. It doesn't look like she suffered over things here. She had looks like a fun time doing this. I can just see really nice, beautiful, like up here in these like ferns and things, and these greens up here, the beautiful like brushstrokes, very loose, fun. Some splashing, great looking splashing along this painting here and there. I see the beautiful, again, those carefree with the stems, the carefree, beautiful brushstrokes. So that's another thing that's really, I find really important with painting is having fun, being loose, having a good time with the painting. It's a certain style, so this is the style we're doing. There's some painters that love to really get into very minute details and are very much more, let's say, careful and slow with their style, and that's fine too. Everyone has their own style, but I guess here we're more interested in doing the more carefree, fun, loose type um, painting style. Another thing I noticed was um, she really did a beautiful job with negative shape painting. So you can see how she left the vase that nice, beautiful glass, kind of like bright looking shape there. And then she painted around that vase to get that nice shape of the vase. And then the vase appears because she painted around that vase with darker tonal values, which looks fantastic. So that's another great thing I saw with this painting. That looks really terrific. And um, just overall, I think it looks really, really nice. I love that line in the back, so that we have a look of a table there, something that's sort of giving like weight to the picture or mass instead of this vase just floating in thin air. We can see that line there, the table line in the back. So that to me is makes the painting feel solid, weighted, so to speak, like it's got something holding it down and it's feels stable versus a floating effect if we just had the vase kind of floating in the picture without anything capturing the table that it's sitting on. And that's just overall, I thought this is a beautiful painting. Great job, Carrie Ann. And I had another subscriber um, comment. I think it was Meg. She was saying buildings are tough, drawing buildings. Um, I did a lot of buildings and things a couple years ago when I was committed to like getting better at my drawing skills and contour drawing, and I just went out and I was doing it every day after work. I'd park in front of a building and just draw a building, and the next day do the same thing, and just kept doing that kind of idea of practicing lots of contour drawing and practicing drawing because drawing skills are so essential. So everyone, please practice tons of drawing. Um, Drawing is always going to just translate into better looking paintings. So I thought I would do, or I would share an idea. Let me see if I could change my setup here. I'll put a foam board up. And we'll put a light on there. Okay. And okay, let's see. I'm going to take a couple sketches here. Okay. So for buildings, what I did is I sketched a lot constantly for like a couple years. I just made it an effort to really do it for like I think it was about 2 years. I was really sketching half an hour to an hour a day outdoors, around my neighborhood and my local towns that I live near, and just trying to paint all the buildings and thing, or draw all the buildings, contour draw all the buildings and so forth. And so like here, so for Meg, I would say Meg, if you're doing buildings and things like this that have simple shapes like rectangular shapes and square shapes, and you can't go wrong with that. And maybe trying to when you set up to draw something, let's say any kind of building or even pictures of buildings, if you're let's say you're maybe you can't always get out and draw outside. A lot of my things that I drew outdoors like this were in summertime, so it's a little bit sometimes in wintertime it's not convenient to be parking and drawing and so forth outdoors. But to make a long story short, here you can see I put myself directly in front of the building, two-dimensionally almost. So I think in the beginning, if you have a challenge with drawing like buildings, let's say, if you just get yourself in front of them where there's no angles, like three-dimensional angles. So here you see I'm directly in front of the building, and the building is really, it's not on any type of an angle like this or like this. I'm straight in front of it, centered on it. In this way, it limits some of the three-dimensional issues that can be a little difficult to draw. So here I just had the simple rectangular shapes of the roof, and then the simple shape of the actual building, which was just basically rectangles and squares. So rectangles and squares, if you can pick some structures and buildings and so forth, or things that have just simple square and rectangular shapes, that's really can help out a lot. So we'll take a look here. This is like a local coffee shop, and I just, lots of squares and rectangles here in this type of. And then here I did it three-dimensionally, a building locally, and I had some challenges there with the three-dimensional look. It looks all right, but it's a little challenging sometimes to do those three-dimensional drawings. And then this one here, this is a little more, getting a little more challenging myself. I was trying to challenge and see if I can. So I did kind of like a building on an angle, like where you're looking. There's like a sidewalk going up the side of this building here. So, but if you can keep it more, and this is more doing some pencil shading. So it's always good to bring a maybe like a crayon and a pen and a pencil. You can do some fun shading stuff. And trying to think if I can see, this is a little more three-dimensional things here. But this one's kind of forward, looking straight at the object, like two-dimensional almost. Let's see if I can find some more. Here's another one. This is again setting up straight in front of the object, so just like really two-dimensional. So the building just straight in front of me, and then I just captured the rectangles. And another great idea, which you'll hear a lot of the really top pro artists will always say, is think of what you're drawing as shapes first, then you can worry about what it is later. But so if you sit in front of a building like this and say, I'm going to draw this building, you're going to say, this is a rectangle. This is a rectangle. This is a square. This is a rectangle. This is a rectangle. This is a square. So if you think of things as shapes first, and it helps to train your mind to see the shapes first. This is a really long rectangle up here, then another rectangle here, then a square here at this roof right here. Again, if we look at something as a shape first, then we don't get caught up in trying to worry about, oh, that's a roof and there's shingles and what do the shingles look like, and there's little lines on the shingles, and next thing you know, we're thinking about all these other things that are distracting us from the basic essence of what is actually we're looking at. So if you think of things as shapes first, really totally helpful with whenever you're drawing anything, especially buildings. That really helps. Let's see if we can see some more buildings. Here's another building. Again, the same thing. I set up straight in front of it, and then I just captured all those squares and rectangles everywhere. So really, these are all just basic shapes of rectangles and squares. And then it makes the drawing a lot easier because I'm already in my mind saying, oh wow, all this is really in essence is rectangles and squares. One big rectangle, then smaller rectangles, then some squares, 1, 2, 3 squares, another square, rectangle here, rectangles here. And then next thing you know, we've drawn a building and it's really just down to its basic shapes. And here I did some more drawing there. So again, simple lines, shapes, squares, rectangles, lines, vertical lines. That's more of a three-dimensional. These are some more things. Adding shading to things makes them more dimensional. So if I was just to draw these, like these are chemical tanks with water and chemicals and things in them. If I just drew them without that shadowing, they would look more like rectangles. But then once I put some shading on them, which was the light coming from this way, put some shadow on them, it makes them look more round. So also when you use shading, you can bring more dimensional, more of a three-dimensional quality to your drawings. But I thought that was kind of fascinating. Here again, this is a local mall. So this is fun. You know, you sit there. I parked by the mall by my house. There's a big mall. And there's people walking around, catching the bus, driving. There's all the mall and all the parking garages at the mall and the atrium, the glass. So I just basically had a fun time. I parked, put my my sketchbook right on my, again, just laying up against my steering wheel. And then I drew with a pen, and I just captured all these nice, basically squares and rectangles. Square here, another, that's about a rectangle there. And then all the fencing is just vertical lines. What if I'm looking at a fence? I say, what am I seeing? It's just a really long grouping of just vertical lines. So instead of getting too carried away with what is it, it's vertical lines instead of a fence and then worrying about how fancy it looks or what color it is, and then once you once in a while you just do some three-dimensional, add another angle to your drawings. All right, so that's pretty much our video, and we'll have some fun. We'll maybe research and do some more work with some other paintings next week. Okay, we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.